time. But
has your challenges become more strong after Trump came into power, or has it become easier for you to work?
We have to refocus, reanalyze our priorities, and deal with the government that's there. So I wouldn't say it's become more difficult in some ways, because this government understands Islamist terrorism.
But has your challenges become more strong after Trump came into power, or has it become easier for you to work?
I wouldn't say that things have become harder with Trump. What I'll say is that every time we have a new set of members of Congress, every 2 years, every time there's a new presidency, we have to refocus, reanalyze our priorities, and deal with the government that's there. So I wouldn't say it's become more difficult in some ways, because this government understands Islamist terrorism. In some sense, that part of the work is easier. We don't have to
Tell them.
We don't have to convince people in the U.S. government, like Tulsi Gabbard, the director of national intelligence. We don't have to
Tell her.
educate her about Islamist terrorism. We don't have to educate Kash Patel, the head of the FBI, about this. On the other hand, this government, has had worsening relations with the U.S. because of trade, but that's something that the Indian government can handle. When we have a liberal government or democratic government, they understand, let's say, how the religious right in America promotes unethical conversion abroad, but they don't understand radical Islamist terrorism, like the kind that happened in Pelgam, or they don't understand the impact of these murders in Bangladesh on the global Hindu community. So it's always a balancing act. It's a seesaw, and that's why HF is bipartisan, non-partisan. In fact, we work with all parties. We're not tied to one party. And whatever party's in power at any level of government, we'll work with them.
You try to...
We work with them not because we support them per se, but because they're the representatives, and if we want to get something done, we have to work with whoever's there.
As a person who has lived in the US for the last many decades, so, I mean, you are born and brought up there. So the recent changes, I mean, the Trump administration, their priorities, the changes in visa laws and other things, it just created a lot of insecurity among the Indian immigrants. So how do you feel? What is your advice to them?
It's very hard for me to understand the position of everybody and what made them come to the US. But from a 30,000 foot view, if I can give it, I would say I've traveled now about 7 weeks in Bharat. As you mentioned, I'm on a trip with my wife. We're traveling, and we're doing all our tourism in India abroad.
I want to ask you towards the end of this interview.
We'll come to that. But what I see is that India has this tremendous opportunity in India. I see a lot of excitement. If I had a choice right now about where I want to find a job, or if I wanted to start a company, I would tell people India is a place to be right now. It's a booming economy of 7 to 8% per year, and for a large company to grow at that pace is great. There's a lot of focus on the environment. You don't have a leader anywhere in the world with the kind of moral clarity and the visionary clarity where you have leaders like past president, Democratic presidents Obama and Biden, and current President Trump and Putin and others saying that, hey, people of India, you guys have a leader who's so focused on your country. That's an asset. So people in India should, I think, perhaps keep the American dream aside and look internally in India and see what are the opportunities. I think I see a lot of business opportunities, job opportunities, and a ton of energy and positivity, which I haven't seen in other parts of the world. And I've traveled to probably 40 countries around the world over my life. And so what I would tell people in the US is, it's going to be, nobody can predict what's going to happen to your job and your future opportunities. But given the challenge now, it might be time to look back at India and say, can I come back here and have a successful life? And I'll just say that I'm impressed with the infrastructure in India. And I don't say that because I'm necessarily a supporter of Modi or BJP. I'm saying that because it's a fact. The infrastructure in India is for real. The trains that I've taken, like Vande Bharat, the roads that I'm seeing, are almost leapfrogging the United States, whose infrastructure is very old. Because the United States doesn't have a stable government, it's very hard to implement any long-term project. But because India has a stable central government with a vision and a plan, You're getting your flyovers here in India. You're getting Vande Bharat trains. You're going to get bullet trains. You're getting airport expansion. And so I see life a lot easier here now in Bharat than it was 30 years ago. And as a tourist, I definitely can see that it's much more easy to travel. And I sense the energy to the extent that I'm talking to my wife right now about possibly retiring in India, moving here, and then doing something meaningful here.
That's great to know.
Yeah.
But let me ask you another straight question. You mentioned about India being a safe place, and we do understand about the jihadi threats, especially thanks to Pakistan and their ISA operatives and other things. We are a victim of jihadi terrorism. But even after 9/11, what is happening in American society? Why they don't understand that jihadi threat is not just for Americans, it's against humanity? Why jihadis feel safe in America even after 9/11? Maybe it's an odd question, but I always wonder why.
I think that in general, people are resistant to certain truths that would hurt their fundamental idea of humanity, which is that everybody is good. And I think on a spiritual level, we as Hindus understand that each soul is good. But when you've been a part of an ideology, when you've been brainwashed, your inner goodness turns into something that's very dangerous for everybody else. And the problem in America was that they were not able to reconcile two things. That you had a large segment of people who wanted to kill innocent people, the 9/11 terrorists and the others who attacked Mumbai blast, Pahalgam, and Madrid and other places, with protecting the rights of Muslims who are not terrorists. What people in America should realize is that you can do both. You can attack terrorism and find the jihadis and protect the civil rights. It doesn't have to be one or the other.
We were discussing about the jihadi threat and what is happening around the world. But there is another threat that Hindus face, not just Hindus, any indigenous community all over the world.
Right.
That is conversion, especially conversion with force and using power. So HIF is doing something about that also. Is it a focus area?
It's one of the areas where we're trying to create a narrative and educate people that we're not opposed to someone changing the religion based on their wish. But when US government money from taxpayers, so my taxpayer money as a US citizen, a taxpaying citizen in the US, goes to an organization through US government aid that in a foreign country conducts predatory proselytization, which we define as conversion based on force, fraud, coercion, or unethical means, that should be illegal. For example, I was a doctor after the Southeast Asian tsunami. I was in Batikal, Sri Lanka, with my hospital group for 3 weeks. Now there, I saw that I talked to people directly who said they converted to Christianity because they were told by such and such aid group, if they do a Christian prayer, then they're going to get this aid when they had nothing left. There was a 9-year-old boy who converted. His parents had died. Now, in India and the United States, we don't allow 9-year-olds to go to certain movies because of the content of the movies. You can't go to a theater and just yell fire when there's no fire without getting arrested and causing disruption. Do we think it's legal for someone to try to convert a 9-year-old who just lost their parents to another religion? So we call that predatory proselytization. And unfortunately, most governments of the world outside of India and some other countries haven't understood that conversion at some point needs to be regulated while protecting the right to convert. Because we don't, nobody can just go on the street and give a child a piece of candy. They can't just kidnap a child. They can't force a child to do something. There's parental controls. But why do we allow it in conversion? And we're at least getting the word out there. We're getting people to understand that. Unfortunately, it hasn't impacted law, but we take a long civilizational view of things, and it's important for moderate Christians in America to also understand where we stand, so they understand that we're not anti-Christian. We're anti-churches that do this to all people, including to other Christians as well.
I mean, but it's a very tricky path where you have to be seen not opposing
Yeah.
conversion, but then
Yeah.
again,
All Hindu work is hard. It's challenging, but it's fun. It's our duty. Yeah, absolutely. But it's challenging.
there are many Hindu groups in
Yeah.
the United States. What makes HIF different from the other groups?
Yeah, I'd say that there's about 3 or 4 things that make us distinct. One is that we are actually a 23-year-old organization. So we've been around 23 years. We're not just some Instagram, Facebook, web page based group with WhatsApp groups. We're professionally staffed. We have almost 25 full-time staff.
Oh.
The reason we have that is because we always felt as volunteers we can do so much. But when we have full-time staff who are professional in their areas of work, the impact we have can be much, much more. And if we want to represent 4 million Hindus in the US, 1.4 billion Hindus worldwide, the most ancient 5,000 plus year old civilization, we can't do honor or justice to the cause or the people or our ancestors who gave their lives and sacrificed them for us to live today without having a professional setup, without providing funding to it. The other, I'd say, characteristic of our group is that we are the only Hindu group led by the second generation. Me, Asim Shukla, Suhag Shukla, and some of the other board members. We're born in the United States. We're raised in the United States. The third is that we're a woman-led group. Our executive director, Suhag Shukla, is a woman. I think that's very important because that brings an understanding of work-life balance and family to the group. And I think the last thing is that we've created a very unique Hindu-American space. So it's not that we're not pro-India, but we're pro-India because India is the carrier of our civilization. And that's important. Narrative is important because when you start looking at second, third, fourth, and in some of the diaspora countries, fifth and sixth generation Hindus, they're firmly tied to their country of birth. But their connection to India is the culture and spirituality and dharma.
Exactly.
It's not so much the village that they were born in or because their parents came from there. So it's important that we have that narrative clear so that the generation that comes after us will continue to be understand the importance of India and the role it's going to play in the future. Because we're not naive. We know that 95% of the world's Hindus are in India. The future of Hinduism as a whole depends almost entirely on what happens in India. But that doesn't mean we can't have a role, an impact where we are. We can have an impact in India, but we're minuscule.
I know.
But in the US, I can have an impact because I know the system.
I understand that HIF is doing something in the field of education also. Can you just brief?
Yeah, one of the things we realize is that in the kindergarten through 12th grade level of education, that field is not dominated by anti-Hindu people. Most of the teachers who teach K through 12, and particularly social studies, they don't know Hinduism because they've never been exposed to it. They got their teacher's teaching degree, and they probably from their own background have understanding of Christianity or maybe Judaism. Whereas in the college and university level, most of the professors who teach Hinduism are either communist Marxists who hate Hinduism and see Hinduism as the cause of all problems, or the Christian theologians and Christian professors from Christian universities who don't have the respect for Hinduism that they have for Christianity. At K through 12, we don't have that issue. So what we're doing is providing resources to teachers through teacher training at conferences and going directly to school districts, and by providing resources to parents to meet with their teachers. So they teach them about Onam. We have an Onam toolkit on our website. It's been downloaded by tens of thousands of teachers, how to teach Onam in American schools. So we provide resources so that these teachers can then teach Hinduism and India better than the 2-3 pages in their textbook.
True. That's the best way to do it, actually. So one last question. You have been in Bharat for the last many weeks with vacationing, going to different parts of the country. Normally people go to one destination or one part. You have been to Northeast, you have been to North, now you are in Kerala. How do you find this experience in a nutshell, if you can?
Absolutely great. My hospital allowed, my department in the United States, emergency department, made a decision collectively that we can take some up to 3 months off post-COVID because there was a lot of burnout during COVID.
I know.
So 2 years ago, we planned this trip, my wife and I, but we decided on India. And it's been great because usually when NRIs come to India, we spend a few weeks and it's mostly with family, maybe one city, maybe a second city. But we've been able to travel to remote parts of India. We've been to Arunachal Pradesh. We've been to Sikkim. We've been to the, what they call, I think the chicken corridor, Siliguri, Siliguri, Nepal, Tibet border area. But we've also been to resorts like Andaman Nicobar Islands, and we've been to Mumbai, and we're still traveling. We're going to go to Madurai and Rameshwaram for my birthday. We'll be in Kutch. So we're getting to see India from different geographic parts, getting to see a lot of different cultures of India. Of course, the religions of India and a lot of history, and more, it's very immersive. So I feel very good about this.
Do you think that there's a resurgence? I mean, whether within India, I mean, the mood is really coming up.
Yeah, one thing that was very common everywhere we went was people felt like development was benefiting them. And may I take time to give a few examples?
Yeah, please.
Yeah. So when we were in the Sikkim area and also the Darjeeling area, also in Western Arunachal Pradesh, everybody who had a homestay, we stayed many homestays, were so happy with the infrastructure development of roads,
support,
airport, that they felt their income had now doubled. So they went from farming for 9 months of the year roughly to now having additional income from homestays. And many of the mothers at home or the wives, they were just cooking extra meals, and because they put some money into building an extra room or bathroom, now they had extra income. So this is an example of how the infrastructure, roads, bridges, trains, airports, planes, is helping people on the ground. So everybody loved that. When I talk to like drivers of vehicles and all, they're talking about how the roads, 2-lane highways, 4-lane highways, these things have helped people. And we've experienced trains like Vande Bharat Express and others which are super fast, clean, efficient, but also new railway connections where things were easier for people. So I think people do have a sense of optimism. They have a sense of energy. There's a good amount of patriotism. One other aspect I wanted to mention is that in the Northeast, in the Siliguri, Darjeeling, Arunachal Pradesh area, there's a lot of military activity.
Yeah.
And the local communities love the military because they were friends of the community, setting up health centers and other education programs and supporting local youth activities. But the military groups, officers, I mean, the Navy, Air Force, I think it's BSF, the Tibetan
ITB.
Yeah.
They are paramilitary forces.
Yeah, and SSP, I think.
SSP.
They're all setting up India's infrastructure. They're defending the borders, developing the roads, and I think people, particularly in the Northeast, felt much more secure with the Indian government taking an active role to protect them from the threat of China, to protect India from illegal Bangladeshi migrants and things like that.
That's great to know, because if common people, as you said rightly, if common people have that sense of optimism, that means the country is in the right direction. Dr. Meghani, thank you so much for being with us and speaking on different subjects. It was a pleasure meeting you and having this conversation. Thank you. Namaste. Jai Bharat.
Thank you. I wanted to just thank TATWAMYI TV and Media Network for this. It's great. And Jai Hind.
Jai Hind. Thank you. Namaste.